Hi, this is Cheryl for Cut at Home. Today I have a fun Valentine for you. It's actually a shaker card. So I thought it would be fun to talk this morning a little bit about how you can make a shaker card from almost anything. So the dies I've used today are mostly Tailored Expressions dies. I used the Make-A-Wish balloons. The largest size balloon is what I used to cut my balloon openings here. So I had to cut them separately. There's only one of the larger dies, and so very easy peasy to do that. The contents for my shakers, these things here, I've got the lips and the mustaches from the Kisses Confetti collection. How fun is that? I just love this little die set. You can see it's not going to cut much at a time. You're going to get 4 sets of lips or 3 mustaches, but you really can't use very much in the card. My balloons are pretty small, so I think I have 4 sets of lips in there and maybe 4 mustaches, maybe 5 of the lips. I'm not sure, but not very many. I added some other things to the mix, and I'll talk to you about that when we get to that step. I'll also show you some of the other dies that I used in this process. So we're going to start first with our patterned paper. This is cut for an A2 size card, so I've cut it to 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. That way I can lay it on a white layer and it will layer perfectly. So the other thing that I want is a piece of white cardstock or whatever you want your backing piece to be. This isn't the background layer, this is just a backing for the shaker part. This I've cut to be just a little bit smaller than the size of my patterned paper. So I think it's 3 7/8 by probably 4 1/8, something like that. It doesn't have to be precise. You don't always have to cover the entire area. For cards, I like to do it because it gives a nice finished appearance. There's no raised parts here or there. Everything sort of fits and matches together. And so that was the look that I was going for. But really the spot you got to cover is the spot where you've got your shakers. Again, you can do it either way. So I've got those pieces done. I also needed to cut a piece of clear plastic acetate, and that is eluding me right this very second. Oh, how funny. Here it is. It's just mixed in my paper. It's very, very difficult to see. Again, this is clear plastic. Because you don't want all your shaker stuff to be sticking to this, just take a dryer sheet and rub it over that clear plastic and take some of that static away that it always seems to have. So now this is good to go, and I'm going to flip this over to the back side, and I'm going to place my plastic so that it covers both openings. You can just use plain Scotch tape to tape it in place. It doesn't have to be secure for the ages. It just has to be relatively secure. We're going to worry more about securing things where we put the shaker items. So that's our first step. Now I want to go through, you can see I've got extra tape here. I want to trim the tape off the edges because that will look bad on my card. Sorry, you're seeing my sleeve and nothing more. That's not very helpful for the video. Okay, so I'm good to go. I've got my patterned paper and I've got my plastic sheet behind. So I'm going to flip it back over again. Now this is where you want to use a low dimensional adhesive. It's one that's not too thick. You can see this is not, these are strips. They're made by Doris and they work very well for this purpose. I'm going to box in those balloons. And so I can use just 1 strip of paper for this project and 1 strip of plastic. It's really not a problem. But because my balloons have different contents, I want to make sure that the balloons are separated. So I'm going to continue adding strips and pieces of strips until I've sealed this in, actually until I've sealed both balloons in. And so I'm going to get kind of on the close side to both of them, which, you know, where you normally wouldn't put 2 strips here, I'm going to go ahead and do that because I want, again, to have that sealing going on here. This strip will go on the other side of the balloon. And we'll worry about covering the top and that sort of thing too. Now you'll have to trim these somewhat to fit. Actually, I want this to move in further and be closer to the perimeter of my balloon. I should not use big words. It's kind of hard to use them at times. There we go. And so I'm sealed in okay in the top. I'm actually going to put this down here to try and help seal in the bottom. I'm going to use some super fine glitter, and when you use that, you've got to seal things in. If you don't do that, then the glitter is just going to run out. The mustaches and the lips aren't so much of a problem because they're big enough. They'll be stopped by the pieces of foam. But the little stuff, it'll just shake right loose and it'll be gone on you very, very quickly. Now, when I'm filling shaker cards, I like to use a mix of things. Mix adds variety and that sort of thing. If you want any sort of a shimmer at all, you want to be using some sort of super fine glitter. Usually a clear is the best way to go. Now you can see I've built sort of boxes around my two balloons here. At this point in time, I'm going to continue adding strips to cover my card so that I can put that white piece of paper that we cut just a little bit smaller over the top, and it's going to hold things in place for me. So again, I'm not sure you have to be terribly precise about this. Where you want to be precise, you want to make sure things are covered here, but otherwise not so much. Actually, I forgot to show you a step for this particular card, so let me walk back a second and show you that. I added the ribbon first. I sort of flipped it underneath here before I put that plastic in place. But we're a little too far to do that, and it'll be fine because there's other ways of securing the ribbon so it won't show. Now, I don't like to leave large spaces like this without any additional foam to support it. If you do that, it may collapse in. That wouldn't probably be a good look for your card. So I just add a little structural foam to help it stay in place. I'm going to add just a little bit more here at the sides and the top, and we're ready to go with it. Again, the other might be fine, but I like to make sure my cards are pretty secure. And so it looks like I'm pretty good to go at this point in time. Now's the fun part. Now's the filling part. Again, I'm going to fill my higher balloon with some mustaches. These are some that I cut. 3 or 4 I think is enough for this size. If you're working with something one-sided, you want to make sure that the good side is face down at this point in time, so it's going to be the right way. Once you flip the card over, I'm going to add 4, maybe 5 of the sets of lips, and we're good to go with that. Now, some of the other things that I'm using today to add some variety is a little bit of just clear glitter. I want just a very little bit to go in here. Using a spoon is sort of helpful. This stuff sticks on anything and everything, including your fingers. I also have some little hearts that are used on nails. So you buy these at a beauty supply store, Sally for example, but they're teeny tiny and they're kind of fun to incorporate in shaker cards. If you have a small area, if you're working with a larger area, these just sort of get lost in the shuffle, so it's not worth using them. But for the balloons, they'll show up and look kind of fun. And then similarly, I'm going to add my gold stars. See if I can do it faster with my fingers, probably. And that's really all there is to it, to filling it up. Now it's a matter of carefully removing these strips. And we'll put the shaker together. It's kind of hard when you've got so many little pieces of foam on here to see where you've removed and where you've not, so take your time, make sure you get them all up. Again, it's super easy to do a shaker using this method. You can use it with virtually any die. You just want to make sure that whatever your opening is It's covered over with the plastic, and then you use the low dimensional adhesive to build a frame around it. The low dimensional adhesive gives enough space for the stuff in there to move, but not so much space that it's flipping over. Again, that's mostly a problem when you use things that are one-sided. One-sided things you kind of want to stay in the right direction and to not flip over. So for example, if you had a metallic red cardstock that you wanted to use to cut some maybe hearts or something, and you wanted the metallic red to show, if you have too much space in your shaker box here, what's going to happen is that they're going to flip over and you'll start seeing the white side instead of the red. So with all those liners off, I'm just going to carefully place this sheet of cardstock that I cut to be just a little bit smaller. And there we go. We've got our shaker going. Looks like my mustaches are caught a little bit here. From time to time that happens, and if you just shake it about, things will shake loose and begin to move as they should. Again, here's my better example. I've shaken these enough so that everything is shaken loose. So it's super, super easy. You go ahead and finish this card then in the normal course of things. Super, super easy to do that. Again, I used mostly tailored expressions for this project. My little bow on the girl balloon is a basic bow by Tailored Expressions. The banner down here is from Build-A-Tag 1. It's a tag set by Tailored Expressions, but I love this dimensional banner. It's so much fun to use. These are all stickers down here. My little necktie is the only non-tailored expression die here. This is by a company called W+9, and it's called tie-dye. So it's a fun and quick little Valentine. Again, I love the shakers. You see them so much. It's good to be able to make them without having to purchase things specifically for shakers. You don't really need that. You can make them up out of virtually anything. So thanks for watching. Bye.